Rain hammered against the cracked pavement as the night swallowed the city whole. But even through the thunder, the sound that haunted every soul who passed was the desperate, trembling cry of a baby. Yet no one stopped. No one looked. Except a girl. A girl who didn't even have a roof to hide under. Her name was Mira, 16 years old, wrapped in nothing but a torn hoodie, her hair soaked, her hands shaking with cold, and still, she carried the baby against her chest as if he were the most precious thing in the world. What she didn't know was that someone was watching her from inside a warm black SUV, someone whose life would change because of her that night. A single dad. A millionaire. A man whose heart had been frozen for years. Mira whispered to the baby, "Don't cry, please don't cry, little one, I'm here." Thunder cracked the sky. The baby clung to her shirt, wailing louder, hungrier, colder. Mira didn't know who he belonged to. She only knew one thing. She found him abandoned behind an alley dumpster 40 minutes ago. She had no mother, no father, no home, but this child had even less. She couldn't leave him. She wouldn't. Her sneakers slapped puddles as she sprinted under the flickering streetlights, searching for shelter. Every building she approached turned her away. Every stranger crossed the street to avoid her muddy clothes and tear-streaked face. Until a luxury car pulled up beside her. At first, she froze, tightening her arms around the baby. She expected shouting, or someone telling her to move. But instead, the window slid down and a gentle voice spoke. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The man behind the wheel was Adrian Hale, one of the city's wealthiest investors, but more importantly, a single father who had lost his wife 2 years earlier. He had money, power, property, but not peace. He saw something in the girl that struck him. Maybe it was the way she held the baby with fierce protectiveness. Maybe it was the pain in her eyes, the same pain he'd seen in his own reflection. "Please," Mira whispered, her voice cracking. "Just help him, not me. He's so cold." Adrian stepped out into the rain instantly. Inside the car's warmth, the baby finally stopped crying. Mira sat at the very edge of the seat, afraid to let her wet clothes touch anything. Adrian noticed. "You don't have to be scared," he said softly. "You did something brave tonight." "No," Mira shook her head. I just didn't want him to die." Adrian drove straight to the hospital. Doctors rushed the baby into emergency care. Mira pressed her face against the window, terrified they would take him away forever. "Sit," Adrian told her gently. "You're shivering." But when she sat, the exhaustion hit her like a wave. She had been on the streets since she was 12. She slept behind grocery stores, under bridges, sometimes on cardboard behind a bakery dumpster. Yet today, she didn't think about herself. She only feared for the child she had held through the storm. Hours passed. Then finally, "He's okay," the nurse said. "You saved him." Myra's hands shot to her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. But then came the question that shattered her. "Is he yours?" "No," she cried. I found him. I thought if I brought him here they'd ask for ID or call the police, so I just ran." The nurse exchanged a look with Adrian, one of concern but also compassion. "Where are your parents?" the nurse asked. Mira lowered her eyes. "I don't have any." Adrian felt something heavy twist inside him. The rain outside had stopped, but inside him, a storm had just begun. Adrian arranged for Mira to stay in a small room at a nearby youth shelter for the night. But when he turned to leave, Myra's voice stopped him. "Wait, thank you, for not judging me." Adrian forced a smile. "Anyone would have helped." "No," Mira whispered. "I've met thousands of anyones on the streets. Not one of them stopped tonight." Something in that sentence broke a piece of Adrian's heart wide open. He drove home to his giant, empty mansion, a place filled with everything except warmth. His daughter, Leah, was away at a school camp, and for the first time since his wife's death, he felt the walls closing in. He couldn't stop thinking about Mira. Her soaked clothes, her hopeless eyes, her hands shaking as she held a stranger's baby like she was willing to give up her life. What kind of world leaves a child like that alone? By morning, Adrian couldn't bear the thought of her going back to the streets. He returned to the shelter. But she wasn't there. Panic shot through him. He asked staff, volunteers, security. Finally someone said, "She left before sunrise." Said she didn't want to be a burden. Thunder rumbled again in the distance, though the skies were clear. Adrian got back in his car and drove fast, searching every alley, every bus stop, every corner of the downtown streets. Then he saw her, sitting on the cold ground outside the hospital, knees pulled to her chest, looking through the window where the baby slept in a crib. She didn't even notice when he walked up behind her. "You came back," she whispered. "You didn't stay." Adrian sat beside her. "Why?" "Because people only help until it's inconvenient," Mira said. "And then, they disappear." Adrian shook his head. "I'm not disappearing." Mira lifted her eyes, confused. "What do you want from me?" she asked. Adrian smiled, the first real smile in years. "Nothing. But I think I know what you need."